Do you want to eliminate the strength and balance between your left and right sides? Do you want to remove the root cause of chronic injury risk? The answer is simple. Do unilateral training. Start with your weaker side first. Why does it work? This slide explains everything. When you lift a barbell with both hands, your body is actually taking shortcuts. When you move both sides simultaneously, your total force output drops below what each side can produce independently. This is called the bilateral deficit. This phenomenon has been repeatedly documented since at least the latter half of the 20th century and was confirmed in a 2020 sports medicine meta-analysis. But there's another problem. Your dominant side tends to be stronger than your non-dominant side. And when this left-right asymmetry accumulates over years, your stronger side begins compensating, taking over movements that the weaker side should be handling. Compensatory movement patterns can increase chronic injury risk in the knees, lower back, and shoulders. This is a fact supported by a substantial body of research. The magnitude of the effect varies by condition, but the mechanism is backed by evidence. And this is correctable. Single leg squats, single arm rows, Bulgarian split squats. Start with the weaker side first, then match that same representative count on the stronger side, no more. This is how your left-right balance begins to recover. Today, let me show you the science behind it. First, let's understand what the bilateral deficit actually is. When you jump with both feet, the height you achieve is actually less than the combined total of jumping with each leg separately. That is the reality of the bilateral deficit. Why does this happen? The cause lies in the change in neural coordination that occurs when the motor cortex issues commands to both sides simultaneously. This phenomenon has been repeatedly documented since at least the latter half of the 20th century and was confirmed in a 2020 sports medicine meta-analysis. But there's an important caveat. The magnitude of the output drop is not fixed. It varies considerably depending on the type of task, the muscle group, training history, and movement speed. Furthermore, a 2023 study in Frontiers in Physiology reported that in experienced individuals with a background in heavy strength training, this deficit is reduced, and in some cases, bilateral output actually exceeds the sum of each side independently. In other words, the bilateral deficit is not a fixed flaw. It's a neural characteristic that can change with training. Unilateral training makes it easier to bypass the output reduction that occurs when both sides work simultaneously. When you perform a single leg squat, the brain focuses its neural commands on that one leg. This is individual neural activation of the nervous system. Next, let's understand left-right asymmetry, a different issue from the bilateral deficit. These two concepts are similar, but they are distinct. Left-right asymmetry refers to the actual strength difference between your dominant and non-dominant sides. The tendency for the dominant side to be stronger than the non-dominant side is seen in many people. The right hand that uses chopsticks, the right arm that throws a ball, the dominant foot that takes the first step. These repeated daily movements accumulate as left-right differences over time. Here's where the problem starts. As left-right asymmetry grows, your body tries to adapt to that imbalance. The stronger side begins taking over movements that belong to the weaker side. This is compensatory movement. However, injuries don't arise from a single cause. As systematic reviews published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine from 2016 onward demonstrate, injury is a multifactorial event. Left-right asymmetry can be one contributing factor, but risk increases when it overlaps with other factors: load management, sleep, injury history, and technical skill level. Therefore, the priority targets for correction are asymmetries accompanied by pain, performance decline, or breakdown in movement form. It's also worth noting that certain sports require functional asymmetry by design. The goal is not to eliminate all left-right differences, it's to assess and manage the asymmetries that are actually causing problems. So what does unilateral training do to the nervous system and the core? There are two key mechanisms. The first effect is individual neural activation of the nervous system. When you squat on one leg, the brain focuses its neural commands on that leg. This makes it easier to bypass the output reduction that occurs with simultaneous bilateral coordination. The muscles on the weaker side begin generating force they haven't been adequately recruited to produce for years. This is the fundamental mechanism by which muscular balance is restored. The second effect is activation of core stabilizing muscles. Imagine performing a single arm row. When you pull a dumbbell with one hand, your body wants to rotate. To resist that rotation, the deep abdominal muscles, erector spinae, and iliopsoas must work together in coordination. Multiple studies in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research from the 2010s through the 2020s have reported increased core stabilizing muscle activity under unilateral loading. However, the degree of improvement varies by assessment method and individual differences, so no single universal number can be stated with certainty. These two effects cannot be adequately achieved through bilateral training alone. No matter how many barbell squats you do, weakness on one side stays hidden. Only unilateral training can surface that weakness and then correct it. Here, I want you to consider a fundamental question. In your daily life, how often are you actually using both feet at the same time? 60% of the gait cycle is single limb support, one foot holding your entire body weight. When you climb stairs, you're pushing your body weight up one step at a time, one leg at a time. When you run, when you jump, when you kick a ball, when you shift direction carrying something heavy, all of these are fundamentally unilateral movements. According to the principle of training specificity outlined in the 4th edition of NSCA Essentials, training that matches the movement pattern produces greater functional transfer. Bilateral training offers many advantages and undeniably contributes to building overall strength and power. However, stability and force production in unilateral movement contexts tend to be better developed through unilateral exercises. The strength you build with single-leg squats transfers directly to climbing stairs. The pulling strength you build with single-arm rows transfers directly to any movement where you pull something with one hand. The stability you build with Bulgarian split squats activates with every step you take. The strength you build changes your life. That is the fundamental value of unilateral training. So what exactly should you do, and how? Let me show you 3 core exercises and the principles for putting them into practice. Exercise 1, the single leg squat. It corrects knee stability and left-right differences in the quadriceps. Beginners can start by placing a hand on a chair or wall for support. Exercise 2, the single arm row. It simultaneously develops pulling strength in the back and activates core stabilizing muscles. All you need is one dumbbell. You can do it anywhere. Exercise 3, the Bulgarian split squat. It effectively corrects left-right imbalances in the hip and glute muscles, bringing balance to the entire lower body. And there is one most important principle of practice. The foundation is to start with the weaker side first, then stop at that same representative count on the stronger side. However, if there is pain or your form breaks down, prioritize quality over representative count. As recommended in the 11th edition of ACSM guidelines, perceived exertion and movement quality are your benchmarks. On the question of programming balance, the foundation is to build overall strength with bilateral exercises while adding unilateral exercises for areas with left-right imbalances. The ratio should be adjusted based on the degree of your asymmetry, your goals, and your injury history. As the 4th edition of NSCA Essentials makes clear, there is no fixed ratio that applies to everyone. A note for those returning from injury. According to a 2017 systematic review in sports medicine, training the uninjured side may help limit strength loss in the injured side to some degree and support recovery. This is called the cross-education effect. The magnitude varies depending on the duration and method of immobilization, but it is a technique actively utilized in physical therapy settings. Now let's organize the key points from today. Here's today's summary. First, the overlap of 2 distinct phenomena, the bilateral deficit and left-right asymmetry, is what gives rise to compensatory movement and injury risk. However, because injury is multifactorial, not all left-right differences are problematic. What matters is assessing and managing the asymmetries that are accompanied by pain, performance decline, or breakdown in movement form. Second, unilateral training bypasses the output reduction that occurs with simultaneous bilateral activation and promotes neural activation of the weaker side. Core stabilizing muscle activity is also more easily elevated, and this is the training approach most directly connected to functional movement patterns, walking, climbing stairs, and sport. Third, the key to implementation is starting with the weaker side first and making form and pain management your top priority. Programming is not a fixed ratio. It's adjusted based on the degree of your asymmetry, your goals, and your injury history. That is the scientifically recommended approach. Your dominant hand and your non-dominant hand. Which one fatigues more easily? I want you to pay attention and find out in your next training session. And start implementing just one thing today. Move the weaker side first. Share your strategy in the comments. Thanks for watching all the way to the end today. On this channel, we unpack the science of the human body and health, not with emotion, but with evidence, not with trends, but with physiology. Topics like unilateral training, overlooked but scientifically significant, are what we dig into carefully every single time. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Your understanding of your own body deepens with every video. If you hit the like button, it helps this information reach the people who need it. Until next time.